this, which is
Instagram not yet.
Instagram's not. It says it's up. People are joining.
All right, everybody, we're just getting going. Let's see. We up and running?
I think we are up on everything now. Just check Instagram. It says we're live.
Is it?
I got a live Instagram thing going.
Oh, interesting.
All right. We up?
No, I don't believe you.
Instagram verified?
I think we're Instagram verified. Yeah,
all right.
Well, at least I'm on it. I'll watch it on.
All right, welcome everyone to the 034 Motorsports Zero Bullshit Q&A. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart, also known as the old guy.
I was the old guy last time, so right.
Once,
yeah.
But I'm usually
beard.
I'm usually
Maybe
the.
it depends how white. It's getting whiter and whiter. So.
I'm usually the short old guy, and you're young and tall are the attributes that you get. But
okay. I'll take it.
I guess it's the white hair and the internet just makes everyone think I'm 80, but I'm only 50. It's pretty young, actually.
Pretty good.
Anyways, we're here to answer all your hot burning questions about all things Volkswagen, Audi, and 034.
Yeah, so now it's short guy and the old guy. Okay.
Oh, I'm short
You're not
and
old,
you're old.
You're not old anymore. Yeah, I'm old. You're...
There's no way. Look at your hair. We're actually not that far apart in age.
Years,
it's like 4 or 5 years or whatever. It gets less and less as we age.
Percentage-wise,
yeah,
certainly closing the gap.
We take a no BS approach to responding, as the name of our vlog suggests. And we like to cut to the heart of the matter, and truth and accuracy is important to us. Although not everyone agrees, especially the people that lie. We're very upset that we tell the truth. So put your questions into the viewing social media portal of your choice. And our capable marketing team will transcribe your questions onto these digital devices, which we are not looking at OnlyFans with.
Not only OnlyFans.
So, Grinder, yes, but not OnlyFans. Okay. Are questions rolling in?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry. I'm putting a couple in here.
All right. Hey guys, I have a 034 Stage 1 on my 155,000 kilometer 2015 Audi Q5 3.0. I do not drive too aggressively. I put Revanol 5W40. What is acceptable when it comes to putting in extra oil at the 10 kilometer cycle?
What is the 10K?
Like if it's
10,000
low?
kilometer, 10,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
What is acceptable? Yeah, I think for 10,000 kilometer.
Yeah, 10,000 kilometers. Sorry.
You probably, I mean, between 1 and 2 quarts, I'd say is considered normal.
I mean, doesn't like this is a those don't have dipsticks anymore,
No. Digital.
and so it doesn't when you run the oil level, doesn't it tell you how much to add?
Once it gets to a minimum, it's supposed to be a quart.
Yeah. The whole thing it shows you is 1 quart. And it'll usually tell you when you're below that.
Yeah, I would say start with 1 quart, and if you still need more, then add more.
Yeah, but as far as what's normal, yeah, I think Audi considers like 2 quarts at 10,000 miles to be a normal.
As far
range.
as
an
acceptable range.
Acceptable use. Yeah.
But you don't just add 2 quarts.
No.
Yeah, but you can add up to 2 quarts over 10,000 miles,
Yeah.
and that's within specifications.
Yeah, if it needs 2 quarts at a whack, your light's been on for a while.
Yeah, but no, when your oil's low, add enough to, to turn the, so that the system shows it's full.
Yeah, that's not uncommon to use some.
Is the transmission mount and the mount insert required? Should I do both at the same time? No. So we consider the insert stage 1, and if you want additional stiffening, then you can do the stage 2 transmission mount. And they do different things. So the insert is going to control more the side-to-side movement of the transmission, and then the stage 2 mount that we sell is controlling more of the fore-aft movement of the transmission. So typically, if you want to stiffen things up in the transmission mount, and if you're happy with that, then you're good. If you'd like even more drivetrain control, then you can add the second mounts. I think NVH is good for both, but I think there's a little bit more NVH when you go stage 2, when you add the second mount.
It's also much more difficult to install that transmission mount, as you have to support the trans and pull the entire bracket down.
Yeah.
So just something to think about.
Yeah, you just need to put a jack under the transmission or something. But yeah, they're neither are required. They're both augment and improve the performance of the vehicle in a way that makes the drivetrain movements less, so that when you get on the throttle, the power and torque through the engine gets the tires more quickly versus loading things up and squishing things around. Kind of like the difference between running in sand and running on, harder packed dirt or something like that. We are working on an IS38 tune for the Mark 7 GTI. I've driven on it. We just have to finalize it and release it, and it's just been getting prioritized with everything else we're doing. What's this racing catalyst thing on my test pipe file, guys? Well, that just means that the file is for racing use only, which means for sanctioned racing use, catalytic converters and emissions control systems are not required. Good afternoon. Is the supercharger clutch always open with 3.0 TSQ5 tune? This is...
Yeah, it is. It depends on the tune. Stage 2 and up, yes, it will be. The clutch is going to be locked the whole time to help ease the engagement and disengagement.
Open.
It's not open, it's locked. So
It's
it's
SQ5.
Huh?
SQ5. There's no clutch on the SQ5.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
okay.
That's what
I'm sorry. I misread
question
that.
about.
So then there's no, if it's not a Series C. In Europe, they might have gotten a super late model with a Series C, but I don't
those
think
are
so.
TDI.
Yeah, you're right. Those GTI.
Yeah, there should be no
So no,
clutch on
SQ5, you won't have SQ5. Sorry, I'm in
only
Series C
on
mode.
an A6 or a Q7, basically.
Or a late European S4, S5.
That's cool.
Yes, I want that set up in my car. So yeah, no, if you're in an SQ5, you do not have a supercharger clutch. So it is open, closes, whatever you want it to be, because it's not there.
Who would win in a boxing match, Javad or Nate? I really don't like to think about these things. There's no case where I would ever fight Nate. It would have to be like a post-apocalyptic world where, like,
I don't even know that would like
once
come
the
to that,
AI takes over,
Okay.
and it's like entertained by humans killing each other, and then we have to face off in some kind of mortal duel to the death. That's the only time, and so and I don't
foresee myself being a very
I would never want to hurt Nate in any
hand combat fighter either. So yeah.
No, but Nate's tall and
got some reach.
long arms, so I would probably not fare well. When switching from E85 to 93, what E% is safe to run hard?
It's kind of forgiving. The biggest thing you'll hit is you might get some fuel trim codes, but I mean, people often run E20 to E30 without, like purposefully. It's going to depend exactly. I don't know what vehicle this is in regards to, but I'd say E20 is probably in a very normal range of what people run on those.
You guys mentioned in an earlier live the new B9 injectors providing E6 power while running E85. Very good listeners, you guys out there. Other than the ease of pumping straight E85, what other benefits will their bigger injectors provide? So the fuel system capacity will now be well within a safe range. You may have heard us talk about margin of safety, the safety buffer that we build into tunes and in calibrations, and the fuel system. Now you can have two tunes that are both safe, but one tune can be 95% system capacity, so 95% of the capacity is being used, and one tune could only be using 80% of system capacity. Both tunes are safe as long as everything is within tolerance. So as long as the injectors are not clogged, as long as the injectors are flowing, as long as the fuel pump is flowing, and with everything operating optimally, both those tunes will be just as safe as each other. The difference is when you have only 5% margin of safety left, if anything goes wrong, you're much closer to the edge. So you can think about it in the difference of how a car would operate versus an airplane. Airplanes have much more margin of safety built in, right? Because if something goes wrong with the airplane, it could fall out of the sky. So there's backup systems, there's redundant systems, engines are rebuilt and maintained far before they can ever fail. So the margin of safety is much bigger in an airplane than in a car. If a car breaks down, it usually just rolls to a stop and you gotta call a tow truck. So with this bigger injector file, you will have kind of the margin of safety that an airplane would have versus a car. It's probably the best way I can explain it. And then there are levels of enrichments that we can accomplish with more fuel system capacity than we can now with, say, RS5 injectors. It doesn't mean the current tunes aren't safe. They are. They're absolutely safe. But the bigger injectors allow for the optimization of fuel system capacity. They allow a much bigger margin of safety, something closer to like what you would have in an OEM stock application. And then they allow additional enrichment. So anything our calibrators want to do with safety systems, with enrichments, we can do with these bigger injectors. So that's the benefit. We're getting very close to wrapping that up and releasing that. So stay tuned. We're very excited to bring this innovation to the market. It's a great running setup, optimized for E85. Gasoline applications just don't need that big of an injector. So for the time being, it will just be an injector that you can run running E85, and we understand a lot of our customers run E85 all the time. So of course, swapping injectors in these cars isn't that big of a deal. So you can always swap back and forth if you need.
Yeah, it's actually that is kind of a saving grace that it is the easiest platform that we've come across for swapping injectors. If you're doing plugs, it's not a lot more to get into.
Here's the same question about returning a tune. What's that?
The same.
Didn't we have the same question last week?
It just came in. I just typed it up. That was when I was typing.
It's the same question as from like 2 weeks ago. Let's see.
Anyway, he's asking.
Yeah, you want to read it?
Yeah, previous owner purchased a tune and flashed the car back to stock before returning the tune, supposedly due to oil leaks. I fixed them and now I cannot upload the tune. Is there any known issues uploading? No, there are not any known issues. I don't know what state that vehicle's VIN is in as far as what credits have or have not been applied to it on the server. So you need to contact tuning at 034 Motorsport. We can take a look for you. But there's no logistical reason that it can't we can't get your vehicle flashed with whatever you need.
Okay, I think we're done with number 3. Someone's asking about 4.0 T tuning. It is something we plan on working on and releasing eventually. We don't have a timeline or an ETA. I'm sorry. Same thing with flex fuel for B9. We are working on it. No ETA on release, but we will have it at some point. For the time being, you can quickly and easily swap tunes on your mobile device. How reliable is the B8.5 S4 with your guys' stage 1? Any supporting mods needed apart from the intake? It's very reliable. Yeah. There's just some inherent Achilles heels issues with the B8 platform, like the intercoolers leaking, like the catalytic converters failing somewhat prematurely, water pump issues, bad injectors,
PCB under the supercharger.
Thermostat, water pump.
Yeah.
there's some PCV issues, but a stage 1 tune is not going to create any of those problems. You know,
No.
it could accelerate things somewhat as you add more load.
I don't know if you mentioned injectors. That's
I
kind of
didn't. I did say injectors. So as far as supporting mods, you definitely want to do the heat exchanger as well. It's not required, but an intake and heat exchanger are going to optimize the flow into the supercharger, and then things do get hot. The factory heat exchanger is about this big and about that thick, and ours is about this big and about that thick. So you're going to substantially improve cooling performance with our heat exchanger upgrade, and I think that's a pretty optimized stage 1 setup. I mean, and then there's, you know, mounts and things like that, but it's just as far as the engine performance related to stage 2, I'd say those are the 2 main things on the supercharged motor. Since 034 SBI can already detect whether you have 034 software or not, can you make it where you can't send logs unless you're stock or 034 tuned and allow everyone to use live data values?
We've gone back and forth with this. At this time, not really, for a number of reasons. One of them being the way we display those values is moving more and more towards our specialized logging methods, because it's a faster, more reliable method. So they won't work with anything but our software to begin with. So I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. There's no, I mean, for us, there's no real reason to let our app talk to you know, anything that's we're not tuned with. So
yeah. Any upsides to B9 full replacement billet subframe inserts similar to B6, B7 full replacement front? So the difference between a billet subframe insert and a billet subframe mount, I would say it would be something worth doing for a race car, where you literally want the subframe, you know, and the frame or chassis to be attached to each other. On a something like a street performance car, once you put the inserts in, the amount of movement is reduced substantially, and the amount of effort and work to put in solid subframe mounts, not really worth it. In addition, solid subframe mounts do transmit more NVH. And so what the inserts do is they allow the mount to reduce movement, but they still isolate the subframe from the frame with rubber. So imagine, well, I was going to say vibrator, but we could talk about one of those toothbrushes, right? The Sonic Hair toothbrush.
you really covered the spectrum there with
Imagine you have one of those Sonic Hair toothbrushes and you turn it on and it's vibrating, and you can either hold it with a pair of pliers, or you can hold it dangling it from a rubber band. You know, the rubber band is going to isolate a lot more vibration, and so even if you just wrap it in a piece of rubber and are holding it, you're going to feel less vibration than if you were just holding it directly. And so what happens is, once you go to a solid mount setup, high frequency vibrations can travel from your differential, from your transmission, from your engine, from the road surface, through the tires. All those vibrations transmit through the mount into the sheet metal of the frame, the unibody. And so the unibody starts acting like a speaker and just starts vibrating. And so you're literally driving inside a speaker, reproducing all the sounds of the roads and the drivetrain. So by keeping that rubber in there, you isolate yourself from all those high frequency sounds and vibrations, while damping the large low frequency movements, which is what really affects the performance and handling. So that's why we recommend that. For some older applications, we do offer solid mounts. Big reason for that is older applications had solid rubber mounts that didn't have voids in them, so there wasn't really the opportunity for us to do an insert. And so in those applications, we had no choice. And I think some of those cars, being older, not as nice and comfortable, the appetite for NVH is higher in customers. But you talk about putting NVH into a B9, it's a $60,000 sports sedan with seat massagers and leather interior with red stitching, and all of a sudden NVH just becomes really unappetizing.
To be fair, Need for Built is the one that asked the question, so he's all for it.
Okay. Need for Built, maybe we can whip some up for you, because
Oh boy.
he's doing a lot of cool stuff. But it's just a good opportunity also to talk about NVH. Wow, questions are rolling in now. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
We have some questions that need to be cleaned up. We're slow on the cleanup today.
Trying to get them in.
Are we ever going to see products for the Supra? I think eventually we will, just as part of our B9, or our BMW program. Our goal isn't to be a Supra tuning company, so it would be more of a function of, some BMW cross application. But those are cool cars, and I think you will see some, yes. Oh yeah, we are actually we will be releasing our brake rotors, our lightweight floating brake rotors for the Supra, which again is for a BMW application. So those are coming soon.
Next month?
Yeah, in like a month or two. Yeah.
They're here. Already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're in the building, so we'll be releasing them very soon. Thoughts on swapping a 2021 TCU module into a 2023 Plus car and programming it in with ODIS to tune the TCU?
Yep, that's a totally viable option. That's
The Mechatronic?
Yep, what a number of other tuners have been basically touting as their unlock method.
Right.
So yeah, no, that is a viable option for sure.
Mm-hmm. Who would you recommend to clean RS injectors? I'm not needing right now, but looking ahead.
I don't know. I mean,
I think haven't we been using RC engineering?
RC can clean them for sure.
Yeah. Flow testing is another matter, but any kind of high frequency injector cleaner, supersonic injector cleaner, will clean an FSI injector as well. I believe now there's companies that make injector cleaning stations, and I believe for a while now they've had for direct stratified injection cleaning as well.
The GTI stuff's getting more common for that.
Yeah, but we use RC engineering, which is kind of a one-day shipping for us here in California. I'm sure there's plenty of places that can do it though. Probably type injectorcleaning.com into your web.
Yeah, we've used a couple. We've used a
device.
couple around the country for different tasks, but RC's been by far the most common.
Flowing is different, so a lot of places they'll flow test injectors at say 4 bar, which is substantially below the operating pressure. It gives you some kind of reference or relative flow, but you have to be careful. That may not hold up at just because 6 injectors all flow the same at 4 bar doesn't mean they'll flow the same at 200 bar. So you need to be careful with that. And I believe there are FSI injector
There's more
flowing.
There's more. You just need
devices
such a
out there.
mechanical drive on the pump to get the pressures up there.
Now you need like a 10 horsepower electric motor.
It's a lot more involved of a bench and safety concerns.
Can you guys please stop releasing products for the B9.5 S4? Although I love my car, I don't love living out of it, which I will be doing if my wife finds more 0 through 4 deliveries. Sincerely, MidlifeMods. I'm sorry. I think your life falling apart is probably worth it for us because of the great videos you make and the great things you do with our products. So if you want to send me your wife's address, I'll be happy to send her some flowers and
our sincerest apologies to Mrs. Midlife
for her this new phase of her life. But I think she'll probably do well. But we'll keep the mods coming.
It's all in the name of safety. That's all you have to remember.
Yeah. Once the safety messaging wears out, though, then yeah. Yeah, actually, speaking of new products, sorry, Dylan, but we have a new auxiliary radiator product for the B9 S4. Do we have all the specs on this, Sean? Just to make sure I'm not talking. Yeah, we're gonna add some of that, and then
to limit the BS.
yeah, it's no BS.
In the meantime, you can compare the sizing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, so this product upgrades the factory heat exchanger on the B9 S4. Do all the cars come with this? Is this the one? Okay.
You can retrofit it. We do list all the components that you need to retrofit it.
So if your car has this from the factory, then this is the upgrade for that. If your car doesn't have it, you can buy this product and the factory products to retrofit it onto your car. The B9 S4 is cooling system limited, especially when you start turning up the power, especially if you drive on track. So we are in the midst of a full cooling system modification program for the B9 S4 to make to bring the cooling system up to capacity to the power levels that we're producing with these cars. And so the new unit is larger, has more surface area, and is thicker than the factory unit.
69% increase in volume.
Yeah, 69% increase in volume. 69%, really? We
Yeah.
couldn't hit, we couldn't
Well,
hit
69.6, but it's better to
70.
just leave it at 69.
Okay, yeah. I think our engineers specifically targeted 69%. Instead of like 65%. We push things a little bit extra to hit that number. Actually 69.6. It's even more freaky. That's like a three-way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess so.
I guess
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
That's like a 9
works.
sandwich. So larger surface area, 10% increase in surface area over factory. So this is a relatively simple, easy mod that just adds to the cooling system capacity. This is not the only thing, so we will be releasing a full radiator and a second auxiliary heat exchanger product as well, I believe.
Yes.
I think we have some, yeah, so that you could match the amount of cooling that the RS5 has. So this is now live on our website, in stock and ready to ship.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
2 weeks.
Most of the components are in stock. We're waiting for one thing, which we should have in a 1 to 2 week range. So yeah, if you have any questions about this, let us know. But we're happy to bring these cooling system upgrades to the market for the B9, and again, much needed products. Do you all have any plans to release a front resonator delete for the B9.5 SQ5 platform? I believe we are working on something. Yeah, stay tuned.
Which one was that?
SQ5 front resonator delete.
Sure.
Yeah, let's double check on that. We have a bunch of them in the works, so I just lose track off the top of my head. When do you suppose Stage 2 Plus will be available for the 4M Q7? I have dual pulleys on my tuned Q7 and would like to switch over. Well, we'd love to have you.
When do you? Where was that?
Question number 2.
Okay.
I don't know when we're releasing Stage 2 Plus, but we are working on a full super duper setup for the Q7.
Yeah, we have a bunch of product coming.
Yeah, and then 2 Plus tuning, Nate. Is that?
Yep, it's come along. It is going to be, well, we're working on finalizing the hardware requirements. There's going to be a little bit more for the 2 Plus, particularly on the fueling side. So that's what we're writing out right now to make sure we're not over-speccing it, but we need to get enough in there.
For what it's worth, the feedback, we haven't talked about it on the live, but we did finally release the Q7 tune last week. Response has been great. We've sold a bunch of them.
Yep.
A lot of switchovers from another brand you may have heard of. And amazing feedback from people who've switched. So I don't know how important the extra horsepower is to you, but if you're thinking about switching, now would be a good time. And of course, you can always upgrade to Stage 2 Plus when we have that as well. And we have our switching discount for anyone who's thinking about switching from any other tuning brand. But just overall drivability, smoothness. Wives have mentioned the car drives better too. So that's the result of our extensive efforts to not just make more power, but reprogram all systems and safety systems in the car to be smooth and inner working, just like the factory ECU is. S5 B9 doesn't hold launch control for long. It starts moving forwards after a few seconds. What could be the issue?
So the launch control on the B9s is it will fully load up the transmission, so it's not going to sit there and just free rev. It's actually building boost, building torque, and you've got to hold that back with the brake. So it's not going to sit there and just free rev like some vehicles do. So if it's pushing through, you need either more brake pressure, more brake. You need more brakes to hold the whole system still. Or you can, if you don't have more brakes or more pressure you can give it, you can back off the throttle too. You can kind of vary the amount of load you're leaving the line with.
Yeah, if you're skipping leg day, it's not going to help.
No,
so,
no.
Or you can just start doing like half leg day just on your left leg.
Yeah, but if the brakes are stone cold, that can be a factor as well. It depends what pads and rotor setup you've got on there.
Yeah. But don't be afraid to push the pedal.
You got to lean on the brakes.
Yeah. But that's all you can do at that point.
Yep.
Is there a difference tuning through your phone than tuning through a computer?
What lands on the vehicle is exactly the same. And very soon there will be a much closer symbiosis between the applications as well. So everything that you can do on the phone is coming to the PC side as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be confusing too because like the user experience on Tinder desktop versus mobile is very different.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, same tune gets flashed.
Same.
Mm-hmm. Engine covers. Do you guys believe a car will cool down faster without the engine cover and heat shield while driving? Depends. I mean, engine covers obviously insulate the heat in the engine. That's actually not always a bad thing, especially from the factory. They like that. The longer your engine stays warm, the less fuel enrichment is needed when it starts. And the more faster your engine cools down, the more emissions and combustion byproducts are released. So keeping the engine warm is not necessarily a bad thing. Engine temperature is regulated through the cooling system, not from the air that flows over it.
Your convection or your radiated engine temperatures from the surface area on the top of the motor is going to be very minimal compared to the rest.
It could
of
be
the
like
system.
1% of the cooling or less.
Even
you could even, put the engine inside a huge styrofoam box filled with insulation, and you could still regulate the temperature of the engine through the cooling system. So keep in mind the inside of the engine is filled with coolant, and that coolant sheds heat through the radiators on the car. So I wouldn't worry too much about the covers. Now, the covers do other things. They absorb sound from the engine. They insulate heat to keep from melting or burning other things in the engine compartment. So in general, you're going to want to leave those in place. In a race car, whole different story. But anything, in a street car, I would encourage anyone to keep those in place. Unless they know for sure that there's a benefit to removing it. Yeah, for example, in the B9 3.0T, those covers keep the turbo kind of shielded. So if you pressurize your crankcase through a PCV failure and your oil cap pops off, that oil just sprays right onto the turbocharger and can catch fire.
It's also part of a secondary heat shielding too. There's a bunch of thermal barrier there as well.
Yeah.
To keep the hood from getting cooked and
there is
and stuff above.
That's what I was saying. Other components like the hood.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd keep it all on a B9 especially. Keep all those covers in place as long as you can. Would you ever consider adding 0 through 4 to Android Auto or CarPlay? And we talk about this.
We talk about it a bit. There's not a lot of advantage to doing it. You're pretty limited on the content you can display on those. So like everybody wants it because they think they can get live gauges and some rapidly updating displays on the those interfaces. And at this time, there's no good path to do that. It's limited by those ecosystems into what you can display and what you're allowed to. So it'll be very you'll probably notice that a lot of the Android Auto and the iPhone, the CarPlay apps look similar. It's because you're constrained to what controls and what interfaces you're allowed to use, and you can just kind of fill in the boxes and put what information you can up there. But it is all pretty limited. So what we could put up there would also be similarly limited, and it's not the best interface other than like flashing, like picking a tune or checking codes. That would be about it. But you're not going to get gauges up there anytime soon.
Someone's asking about our Merc Racing supercharger progress. How it's feeling, how it's cooling. Is there anything new worth mentioning?
I think we've talked about most of what's going on. It's still ongoing. The fueling system has been working very well. I've got some more updates I'm doing on that right now. So yeah, we're still working on it.
Yeah. How long will my lowering springs take to settle? I just installed my lowering springs from 0 through 4 last week and still have a pretty big gap in the rear. How long before it settles? Any tricks? In general, here we give it about 2 weeks of consistent daily driving. All springs do settle as the spring kind of takes place, and it's not necessarily amount of time; it's amount of cycles and compression, and there's a slight amount of fatigue in the tensile strength of the spring, which causes it to relax a little bit. So I think if you're still having issues after a couple weeks, shoot our customer service an email. They're very well versed in spring settling conversations with customers, so feel free to discuss that with them as well. And then keep in mind that all springs have a tolerance range, so even if you measure, we measure a lot of car height related to springs here, and all factory cars have a range or tolerance too. There's no, you're never gonna, everyone averages says 1 inch drop, all around, but it's never 1.0 inches. It's always going to be, one side's going to be 1.1, the other side's going to be 0.9. So you may have like a 1/4 inch plus, variance, plus or minus. So something to keep in mind. If you're super obsessive about vehicle ride height, and if it has to be perfect, then coilovers are probably for you, but we sell many thousands of springs a year to very happy customers.
Did you mention installation of or torquing suspension at ride height? That's something that can catch people out too.
No, I didn't, but yeah, that's...
is making sure everything is settled with the springs you're running. So if you're changing ride height, an inch or so, you're going to have to loosen all the control arms, get them to the new static height, retorque everything.
That should be something that gets done during the install process.
Because that'll put an extra spring force as they're twisting and loading up more. That will affect ride height.
And that is a good point. If you have your rear bushings loading up, or if you have a sway bar preload, that's going to affect your ride height as well. If I had MPI hardware on the B8 3.0T, would you support it?
So we have a very tight integration with our MPI kit that we're working on. It is not just MPI. There's communication going between both the ECU and the control and the fueling controller, and back from the controller to the ECU. So the ECU is getting, basically status reports on that the MPI is functioning in there. Also ethanol content, and a number of other parameters we're getting back from that controller to the stock ECU that we're using. So it's not just sticking an MPI controller on and accounting for the extra fuel that's getting blasted in there. Yeah. We have full control of it. We are able to, fully control the injection amount from the MPI controller from the stock ECU. So it accounts for everything from, if you've got cylinder shutoffs for shifts, for, if you some misfire event or something, and you have to go into a cylinder shut off, a deceleration, any number of things that shuts off the injectors. We have full control over that. So if you happen to have the exact MPI setup we have and everything's wired exactly the same as we have and it's tied into the CAN bus and all that, there's potential, but I don't know of anybody that does outside of us. Then
So this question assumes that all MPI are the same, and that's not true. Even though it's called multi-port injection, ours functions at a whole different level with a much more technical integration than what a lot of people are calling MPI out there. So some of the basic hardware will be similar.
Oh yeah, the injectors, the fuel, some of the base fuel supply stuff will be very similar, if not the same.
Yeah, so we'll probably have to come up with some option for people who already have the hardware on the engine.
Yeah.
So our controller will integrate, so they won't have to buy a new fuel rail and injectors that they already have. We will be supporting a certain size injector.
Yes, there will be a little bit of flexibility there because it is easier to change on the MPI, depending on you can recalibrate the MPI as well.
But we may not support your injectors.
No guarantees.
Yeah. But as far as the MPI control system, it's not just a split-second controller that like a lot of other people are using, which we were a competitor to split second for 10 plus years.
Back in the day, yeah.
And that's just a really simple, not very intelligent device. It just takes a couple inputs, RPM and manifold pressure, and it squirts whatever, fuel you tell it to in a three-dimensional matrix. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is much more advanced, and it's integrated in with the factory ECU through the CAN bus. I'm not sure anyone else has asked for this or not, but is there any way to have a Valet mode for B9 tuning?
We've talked about it. There is
we get asked about it every once in a while.
There is potential for that. It is, to be fair, not high on our priority list, but that possibly. I'm not gonna make any promises.
Yeah. You can always flash back to stock.
Yeah.
This is stage 3.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, then we would have to have like a super low output version of that.
Yeah, it's come up here and there, but not a ton of requests for it.
You can always just stick a sock in the turbo inlet.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Nothing could go wrong there.
Mm-hmm. Or a tennis ball. I think tennis balls. Yeah. The proven method. Just kidding. Don't do that. Just joking. Customer service can be like, yes, Javad told me to put a tennis ball in my turbo inlet. Yeah. Now there's like chunks of engine coming out my muffler.
There's turbo pieces everywhere.
Are B8 pads coming soon? Any chance to pre-order? They are. We are actively working with our brake pad manufacturer to bring those to market. In general, we don't like doing pre-orders. And it's funny, group buys aren't really a thing anymore, but it used to be a big marketing strategy for companies in this industry where it's like, we should develop a product, but we have no money to bring it to market. So we'll do a group buy and we'll sell them to everyone.
Early Kickstarter kind of
pretending like it's a really good deal that they need to jump on. And then once we get all their money, we'll actually start working on actually making the product, and hopefully we won't spend all the money on like a nice new car or hookers and blow or whatever. Yeah. And then lots of people end up getting ripped off. So I think basically for the last 10 years I made a personal decision at the company that whenever we release a product, it's going to be on the shelf ready to ship. In some cases the product is here and we're finishing up the last few steps to bring it to market. Maybe some packaging or some additional QC or whatever, and so we will release it and then we'll say it's going to ship in a week or 2 weeks or whatever, but the product is here. It's like our hands are on it. We don't like doing pre-releases because we just don't like disappointing people, and when you do a pre-release, say months before you're ready to release, you just end up dealing with a lot of Wizmos. That's industry speak for where is my order. and then inevitably there's delays and
Oh my god, the amount of silly stuff that can just throw a product release just completely off the rails and delay things months or even longer is you would not believe.
Yeah, so it's just too far out, and it's just not professional, right? So you end up just being this company that's kind of making hollow promises, telling people, and this is the whole like 2 weeks. APR was famous for doing this, where they would like release a product and start selling it, and they'd tell everyone it was going to be 2 weeks, and sometimes it would be 2 years, and the whole time they're saying another 2 weeks, which 2 weeks is just long enough to keep someone involved without having them like cancel or ask for a refund. But then it's just always 2 weeks, 2 weeks. So now it's turned into this like caricature. So when we release something, it's typically always in stock. We are doing some releases. So for example, we released these today. These are here in the building. We're waiting for one little thing to finish up, but we're very confident it will be here. And it does happen to be about 2 weeks from now. But that just happens to be how long the actual lead time is, not a made-up number that we pulled out of our ass to trick you into hanging on a little longer. So once BA pads are here, you'll know it. They'll be in stock. They'll be ready to ship. We'll get them out to you. Worst case scenario, we'll let you buy them a little early, a week or two early, so that once the product, the second it's ready to ship, your order's out the door. All right. So that's our commitment. That's our goal.
Yeah, we have to have a very tight amount of control over when we're actually going to get the product in that is release ready.
Yeah, but we really like doing what we say when it comes to meeting our customers' needs. And, when you've been doing it for 20 plus years, you just get to a point where it's like, if I can't guarantee the result, I just don't want to do it. And that's kind of the difference between a small new business that like promises everyone the world and an established business that's been like, we've been down that road to hell is paved with good intentions. We're just gonna like stick to what we can guarantee, what actually works.
Yeah, and then that I was thinking about that actually when people were asking earlier about like the Merc Racing blower and stuff, and there's a reason it's not released. It's not ready. We don't want to promise anything and not be able to fully deliver that. So it's taken a long time. A lot of hurdles have come up along the way. Some hardware, some other stuff. It's not a product that's ready for release yet to meet our standards to be a 034 stamped. Ready for masses setup. So that's why it's not there yet.
The other way this plays out is if you go on our website or you ask us, does this fit so-and-so? And we either say it fits or it doesn't, right? So a lot of places are like, oh yeah, no, it'll fit. You just need to like grind a few things. And it's like for us, like, no, it doesn't fit. Don't buy it, because we don't want you to be disappointed. We would love to sell you something that you could adapt onto your car, but that opens up this like nebulous potential of all these outcomes that we don't control. And we really want to try to control the outcome, which is always a great experience, hopefully. Why would someone get a tune installed at a shop versus doing it home yourself? There's a number of reasons. I think for a lot of the hardcore enthusiasts who are flashing through their phone and logging and swapping from different stages and E85 and 91 or whatever, that's great. We love you guys, and you guys are kind of the hardcore customers. But there's a lot of people that are like, I just want my car to be faster. I don't want to download anything. I don't want to swap anything. I just want to keep putting 93 octane in my tank. And you know what? My local dealer says they sell 034. I just give them my credit card. I wait 15 minutes and I got 100 more horsepower. Like, that's great. I don't need to swap it or switch it. And if I ever do that, just go back to the shop or they can buy a cable and so we sell a lot of dongles, tuning dongles on their own. And these are the people who've flashed through a shop and at some point are like, you know what, maybe I do want to access it.
Or just be able to check codes or to use any of the other functions we've got on the software for you.
So we love our tuning dealers because a lot of our customers trust them to recommend and put them into the right products, and they don't want to go online and spend a lot of time researching and reading everything. And so you have trusting shops out there and we have hundreds of great dealers all around the country that our customers can go to and get great, honest advice on what the best modifications for their car are based on what they're looking for and their needs and wants. So that's where the dealer network really comes.
They trust their dealer. The dealer trusts our product, that their reputation can stand with our offerings as well. So it's a lot of these customers will have, like Jawad said, just they want to have a more whole experience. Maybe you go to a fancy restaurant and you want a really nice bottle of wine. You don't know that much about wine. You're not a huge wine connoisseur.
Right.
They have a sommelier that'll come help you and help you curate what you're looking for. So that's there's a lot of different ways to go about all these different hobbies and adventures.
That's right. Good metaphor, Nate. Very cool. I just want to say Eric Lopez is awesome at his job.
Yep.
Wonderful to hear. Thank you. Eric is in our software support team, and we love supporting our customers. Thank you. Wow, the questions keep
We got a
pouring
lot
in.
of questions, guys. We're not going to get to everything.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to.
And I don't know if we cleared it up this morning earlier, but we have some people on Instagram wondering why we're not answering all their questions right away and where these other questions are coming from. So we stream on several platforms at a time. When we do this.
Three
So
simultaneously.
we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So that's why if you see, you've seen questions come across whatever stream you're watching and they're not getting answered, and you're hearing all these other questions, they're coming from all over the place.
Yeah. And I didn't mention it, but we have been jumping on a lot of update questions, but we don't guarantee that we'll get to all the update questions. We're really trying to get to all the real questions. Can we view logs ourselves on the phone or computer with SPI app?
That's something we were actually working on for some light, on-device review. Right now, the logs are emailed to you and our support team, but we're working on a little more like in-app viewing as well after the log is captured.
Someone's asking about the B9 3.0T PCV hose and catch can kit. We're finalizing all the website merchandising for those today, so be on the lookout for a release very soon on that product. Finally, really excited to bring the best PCV solution on the market to you guys imminently. Let me see. I can smell the hoses. They're in the building. 5?
Yeah.
Number 5? What is RAM logging, and do you offer it for the B9 platform? I don't recommend Googling RAM logging.
Yeah,
by the way.
you gotta be careful with that one.
Yeah.
So when we say RAM logging, that means there is memory inside of the ECU or any computer you've got that is constantly changing. It's what these programs use to save data, read data. It's all the variables that it takes to run your car that are changing over time. So RPM, routine reads in the sensors coming off the crankshaft, the camshaft, that calculates a number. That's your RPM. It'll save that somewhere in RAM that all of the other programs in the ECU will use to know what the engine speed is. So that RAM is just it's an amount of memory inside the computer, and normally you cannot access it all. You'll get a very slim window that the OEMs will provide, and those are the normal OBD PID groups. So you'll get a very basic subset of what they determine is what they need for their diagnostic stuff typically. When we say we have RAM logging, that means we have the ability to read everything in the ECU and get all of the parameters out of the ECU at any time. So we can go way more in depth on the amount of data we can get. Usually we can get it a lot faster than the OBD routines as well.
Yeah, it's going direct to the
So
source.
it's just a much more advanced, much more complete data acquisition method that we can employ. So let me see if there's a couple of follow-ups. Difference between OD logging. Again, it's very platform specific too. Some of these, I'm going to say the B8's a good example. There's a pretty big difference. We'll have maybe, I want to say 50-ish parameters on OBD logging typically. We'll get about 20 teens to 20 hertz, depending on how you're doing it. I can RAM log about 150 variables. I think that's my normal group at about between 50 and 100 hertz. So it's orders of magnitude more data we can get out on some of these platforms. And it's in a much, there's also another factor in it that gets a little geeky, but when you are logging with OBD, a lot of times you have to send all these different commands to the ECU like, hey, I want this value, this value, this value, this value. It gets back, and then you want the next set. You get that back, and you get the next set. You get that back. When we do our RAM logging, it's much more an accurate snapshot in time. So we set up our logger internally. We do all the heavy lifting is done inside the ECU. And we just say, hey, give me the latest information. All the information comes back at once. So it's a snapshot of all the variables tied together exactly at the same point in time. So that really helps with data acquisition because everything's moving potentially very quickly. And you've got all these intertwined variables that are dependent on each other. And if you're capturing them out of sync, it's a little trickier to kind of suss out the nuances in the data. So there's a bunch of advantages, and we're working on bringing it to a whole lot more platforms as our normal logging method, just as we roll out more and more from ECUs to transmissions to everything. We've got lots of data we can lean on.
All right, let's keep pounding through. We got 5 minutes. I don't know a lot about this one, but I'd like to address it. Someone says, I'm interested in purchasing coilovers from a Merc 7 Golf R. Why should I purchase RacingLine TrackSport over Ohlins Road Track? I track Laguna and Sonoma 4 times a year. So Sean on our marketing team says he's run both. They're very capable coilover systems, and the RacingLine system is neat because it does convert the car to a true coilover as opposed to a shock and spring next to it.
Yep.
I haven't driven a car with the RacingLine. I know who makes the coilovers for them, and it's a very reputable company that I would trust, and I would put it up there with an Ohlins road race type.
The road track kit.
Yeah, the road track stuff.
It's comparable to the TTX line, pretty much.
Yeah,
like it's nearly the
which
same.
if it's comparable to TTX, that's really good stuff. So, not our product per se, but our partner company, RacingLine, who are have the pleasure of being under the same business umbrella with. The MPI question earlier, he says, yes, I just meant the MPI hardware.
Yep.
Do we have a preferred MPI injector size and brand? I mean, it's going to be a Bosch.
It's
style.
It's going to be they're very short injectors. The ones we're targeting, they're around 750 cc, so they're about 730 to 750 cc is kind of what most of these are landing. I think for most kits out there, so we're kind of trying to make sure we're supporting the most common configurations that already are on the market. So as long as you're in that range, you should be in good shape.
Yeah. Which motor transmounts would you recommend for AOK in Mark 6 GTI K04?
For a Mark 6 GTI.
So for any like street-driven car with a K04, performance oriented, definitely look at our street density motor mounts for that. That's what I would recommend. If you don't care about NVH and you're willing to accept some noise and vibration from the drivetrain mounts, then I would recommend you look at our street sport billet mounts. Those are also very popular. Since this is an older car, you may be okay with the NVH, but that's going to give you a substantial improvement in drivetrain movement control. But the most popular option by far is our street density mounts for that application. Paying attention to my machine component design class is less than watching two men discuss VAG cars. Yeah, I sorry about that. You can always watch this later.
Yeah, this gets saved.
Don't
and,
flunk out.
And you can revisit it on YouTube.
Yeah,
it is only stored on YouTube. Instagram, it comes and gone. Same with Facebook, but YouTube will store
everything. Yeah, all this stays on.
Actually, no, the Facebook one. I think Facebook hangs right
too. We got number 7. Is it compulsory to have a TCU tune if I go with stage 1 tune for my B8.5? And if not, my transmission get damaged if I do just the ECU tune.
It is compulsory in that the transmission sends out a torque limitation that the ECU is going to abide by. Right. So yes, to get the performance of the stage 1, even the stage 1 tune on the B8s,
the full unlock of power.
Yep, you do need a TCU file, and that TCU file is all kinds of much nicer to drive and much more responsive.
Yes. So. But you won't damage anything if you don't, because again, we maintain all safety systems between the TCU and the ECU.
So we abide by the TCU's requests and limits, and
So you can do it. You'll just be.
It's going to be nerfed. Yeah.
Any new products for the Audi RS5 B9 is the inlet duct for the twin turbo worth upgrade. We are about to release our new carbon fiber turbo inlets and in S34 intake system. Yeah, I think you know, is it worth upgrading? We'll post all the performance data, but our inlet does flow substantially more than the stock inlet. It supports a 3.5 inch all the way to the 5-inch filter, and it allows full flow into TTE 720 turbos and future TTE upgrades as well. TTE is coming out with more powerful, with our collaboration, more powerful turbos for the RS5. So, and it's very reasonably priced for what you get. I think we did some benchmarking on price for the competition. Our product outperforms, looks at least as good as anything else or better, and it's substantially less expensive. So we think this will be the new standard for B9 RS5 intake and inlet systems, and it will support any foreseeable power these cars will make, and is upgradable in the future for even more. Say, if you at some point want to make 1,500 horsepower with your RS5, we'll be able to support that as well. So yeah, that's coming very soon. Another product we're finalizing. We're really in a big push right now to release over a dozen products in the next few weeks. So
Yep, got a bunch. Of
look
cool
for an
stuff.
onslaught of emails and posts discussing new products and other exciting things that are coming as well.
Yeah, sorry we didn't get to all the questions this week.
Yeah, apologize about that. But thank you for participating and joining us. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And next week is SEMA week.
Yes.
But we will try to do something on Monday,
Okay.
per usual. So
Sounds good.
all right, cheers, everyone.
Take care.